Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Fording Faith with your gal, Alicia Ann. In today's episode, we're going to go over the Life Recovery 12-step devotional plan found in the Life Recovery Bible. And starting in Step 1, Devotional 2, we have dangerous self-deception. Okay. And I'm going to go to Judges chapter 16, verses 1 through 31. So if you want to pause the video, find it, and come back and read along with me, feel free to do so now. Judges chapter 16, Samson carries away Gaza's gates. And it starts out like this. One day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. Word soon spread that Samson was there, so the men of Gaza gathered together and waited all night at the town's gates. They kept quiet during the night, saying to themselves, "When the light of morning comes, we will kill him." But Samson stayed in bed only until midnight. Then he got up, took a hold of the doors of the town gate, including the 2 posts, and lifted them up, bar and all. He put them on his shoulders and carried them all the way to the top of the hill across from Hebron. Now, sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "Entice Samson to tell you what makes him so strong and how he can be overpowered and tied up securely. Then each one of us will give you 1,000 pieces of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me what makes you so strong and what it would take to tie you up securely now." Samson replied, "If I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that have not yet been dried, I would become as weak as anyone else." So the Philistine rulers brought Delilah 7 new bowstrings, and she tied Samson up with them. Now Delilah has hidden some men in the inner rooms of her house, and she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you, man!" But Samson snapped the bowstrings as a piece of string snaps when it is burned by fire. So the secret of his strength was not discovered yet. Afterward, Delilah said to him, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now please tell me how you can be tied up securely." Samson replied, "If I were tied up securely, it would have to be with brand new ropes that have never been used." So Delilah took the new ropes and tied him up with them. The men were hiding in the inner rooms again, just like before. And again Delilah cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you, man!" But again, Samson snapped them ropes from his arms as if they were like thread. Then Delilah said, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies, man. Now tell me, really, how can you be tied up securely?" Samson replied, "If you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on your loom and tighten it with the loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else." So when he slept, Delilah wove 7 braids of his hair into the fabric. Then she tightened it with the loom shuttle. Again she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you, man!" But Samson woke up and pulled back the loom shuttle and yanked his hair away from the loom and the fabric. Then Delilah pouted. "Oh, how can you tell me that you love me when you don't even share your secrets with me? 3 times now you've made fun of me, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong." She tormented him with her nagging day after day after day, until he was sick to death of it. But finally, Samson shared his secret with Delilah. "My hair has never been cut," he confessed, "for I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone." Delilah realized he had finally told her the truth. So she sent word to the Philistine rulers, "Come back one more time, for he has finally told me the truth and told me his secret." So the Philistine rulers returned with money in hand. Delilah lulled Samson to sleep with his head in her lap, and then she called in a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. In this way she began to bring him down, lock by lock by lock, and his strength left him. Then she cried out, "Samson, the Philistine rulers have come to capture you, man!" When he woke up, he thought, "I will do just as before and shake myself free." But he didn't realize the Lord had left him. So the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes. They took him to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and forced to grind grain in the prison. But before long, his hair grew back. The Philistine rulers held a great festival, offering sacrifices and praising their God. They said, "Our God has given us victory over our enemy Samson. Our God has delivered our enemy to us, who killed so many of us. Now is in our power." Half drunk by now, the people demanded, "Bring out Samson! Bring out Samson, so he can amuse us." So he was brought from the prison to amuse them, and they had him stand between the pillars supporting the building of the roof. Samson said to the young servant who was leading him by the hand, "Place my hands on the pillars that hold up the temple. I want to rest against them." Now the temple was completely filled with people. All the Philistine rulers were there, and there were about 3,000 men and women on the roof who were watching as Samson amused them. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me again. God, please strengthen me just one more time. With one blow, let me pay back the Philistine for the loss of my 2 eyes." Then Samson put his hands on the 2 center pillars that held up the temple. Pushing against them with both hands, he prayed, "Let me die with the Philistines." And the temple crashed down on the Philistine rulers and all the people. So he killed more people when he died than he had during his entire lifetime. Later, his brother and other relatives went down to get his body. They took him back home and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, where his father Manoah was buried. Samson had been judge over Israel for 20 years. It took the loss of his physical sight for Samson to gain personal and spiritual insight. But that was not the end of the story. In his prayer to God, Samson finally admitted his helplessness and committed himself to God's hands. Notice that Samson accomplished more in his God-appointed death than he ever did in his entire self-centered life. And despite Samson's serious flaws, he was remembered as a man of faith. So we can only imagine how Samson would have altered history had he been committed to God throughout his entire life. So we need to examine our lives for missed opportunities and then determine not to miss them when they arise again. And Samson's real problem can be found in the lies he told himself. By not admitting to his powerlessness, he remained blind to the obvious danger that his pride and desire for beautiful women were leading him into. This caused him to gradually inch his way toward an untimely death. So we need to be careful not to fall into a similar trap. So as we learn to acknowledge our powerlessness over our addictive compulsive tendencies daily, we become more aware of our behaviors that will likely lead us to destruction. So thank you for watching. If you like this, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe, and continue reading the 12-step devotional plan with me. And thank you very much. Have a blessed day. May peace be with you. Bye.